Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so Attack on Titan chapter 106 is out, and for the most part, this chapter is basically just here to let us kind of breathe for a second. I mean, after all the craziness that happened, all the reveals that we got from the last arc, not to mention the fact that in the last month's chapter, Sasha died, this chapter was basically just here to say, hey, take a deep breath, relax for a second, and we'll just kind of just answer a few questions that you guys had for a while from this the last arc in general. Like, for example, the question of how the fuck in 4 years' time could the Paris Island troop actually get as much technology that they had in order to evade Marley. It just didn't really make a lot of sense how they were actually able to gain that kind of technology that fast. And this chapter actually kind of answers that question. Okay, so remember in the last arc when the Marley military was talking about that kind of like reconnaissance troop they sent over to Paris Island that they haven't been able to contact for a while? Yeah, we have to see what happened to them in this chapter because most of the chapter actually takes place in like a time skip 3 years prior to the invasion. And we find out that, alright, the first boat they sent over, that was immediately captured. You know, everyone was taken hostage. And then the second boat that they sent over, while they were trying to figure out exactly what happened to the first boat, Eren snuck up on them, basically carried their boat onto land. And they were basically negotiating their surrender when Zeke's soldier, the one actually led the Jaw Titan and the Cart Titan to that trap, actually turns on their captain, shoots them, and basically says, hey, we're here to talk terms. We're here to actually kind of work with you guys. You know, we're on your side. And this is when her and that black soldier from the last arc that we saw flying the blimp basically give them a rundown exactly what Zeke's plan is. And his plan basically comes down to the fact that he was building a resistance group inside the Marley military for years, made up mostly of people who were actually captured by Marley and forced to join the military after their countries lost their own wars against them. And basically his plan is to work with the Paris Island soldiers in order to gain freedom for the Alliance by invading Marley. Now Hange, she's basically right on board with this plan. As soon as they throw it out to her, she's ready to report it to the higher ups. It's like, hey, we got to move forward with this plan. Now the higher ups are kind of like, we're not exactly sure. How can we trust this guy? I mean, this is Zeke, the Beast Titan. The guy who's basically led every invasion that they had against us this entire time so far. How can we possibly trust him? And this is when Eren actually jumps in and says, hey, Zeke's telling the truth. Because Zeke mentions in his plan that he actually wants to use Eren, his half-brother, and the fact that Zeke himself has royal blood. The two of them working together could actually use the Titans inside the walls to invade Marley. And when they're like, all right, well, how come we never came forward with this information before? The fact that, you know, if you touch someone with royal blood, you can actually use their abilities or their royal blood to basically jumpstart that ability to control Titans. How come we never mentioned this before? And he basically comes out clean and says, hey, I did it to protect Historia. I did it to protect her because I did not want the fact of my knowledge to basically force her into becoming a Titan. I didn't want her to actually go through that, and I didn't want you guys to bring up the possibility of me eating her to gain that royal blood in order to actually use this as a weapon against Marley. And after Eren makes that revelation and actually says, you know, we should go forward with this plan, I guess the higher ups kind of agree, and I guess Historia would probably have the final call on this, and since she actually is Eren's friend, she actually would probably agree with him. But yeah, they basically say, all right, we're going to go forward with this plan, and we see basically the Paris Island soldiers working at first only with Zeke's group, and then slowly start to build in a trust and relationship with the Marley soldiers that they actually captured and getting them to work on their side. Which is actually kind of interesting. It's actually interesting to see that not only the people that were loyal to Zeke and actually were planning on betraying Marley in general, but the soldiers that Marley actually sent over that were loyal to them slowly decided to shift over to Paris Island and actually kind of join their side in general. The fact that this happens actually kind of brings up Armin and Mikasa kind of thinking, you know, maybe we actually don't have to kill Marley. Maybe we actually don't have to invade them. Maybe we actually can just sit down and talk to them. They realize that we can actually work together and we can live in this world together without actually us having to go to war with each other. And Eren, this is actually when it's starting to show Eren's actually, you know, starting to get into those like radical ideas, and he's basically saying that's not going to work. As long as we're alive and as long as they're alive, we're going to be at war with each other. Just because we turned a few soldiers on our side doesn't mean we could turn an entire country. And then basically the rest of the flashback is just a montage of, you know, the Paris Island soldiers working with the Marleyan soldiers to not only come up with the technology, but show that they're kind of like growing a friendship. And then we flash forward. Speaking of which, actually, you know, before I get to that point, we actually do get a cute scene. Actually, it's kind of, you know, fun to see it because we actually involve Sasha heavily. We get to see them trying out seafood for the first time because they actually built a harbor in order to dock their boats that they're going to be building. And we see Sasha just drooling over the seafood. She's chowing down on a fucking lobster. It's such a cute moment, and then, you know, it's such a heartbreaking scene because later on in the chapter we actually do get to see Sasha's dead body again, her laid out on the ground, basically bleeding from her stomach. And, you know, just the fact that, you know, we actually get to see that last moment of Sasha being Sasha, it's a heartwarming scene. And then we flash forward back to present day, and we see that Armin was actually the one having the flashback. And we get a big revelation that he was actually talking to Annie, not actually outside the crystal. She's still encased in the crystal itself. But she was actually talking to her, and he's actually asking her to wake up at this point, saying, hey, we could actually use your help. And this is actually pretty interesting because, alright, yeah, Armin and Annie were kind of friends. They didn't really have that close of a connection, though, before she got encased in the crystal. But what's interesting about it is the fact that we know that Bertolt was basically in love with Annie. He had a huge thing for Annie up to the point where he died. And the fact that Armin was the one that ate him goes to show that, you know, Armin might have some kind of connection to Annie now because of the fact that he has Bertolt's memories. But anyway, after that we get a quick moment with Zeke and Levy where Levy's basically saying, hey, if your plan doesn't work, I'm going to kill you. And even if your plan does work, it just delays the fact that I'm going to kill you. I'm going to eventually kill you and grind your fucking ass up. And that's basically what the conversation between the two of them led to. It didn't really add much to the chapter. And then we just kind of get a montage of everyone. We see Sasha's body, like I mentioned. We see everyone kind of, you know, dealing with the fact that their invasion actually did work. We see Mikasa basically contemplating something. I'm not exactly sure what she's thinking at this point. And then the final shot of the chapter is Eren. We see him tying up his ponytail. And he's basically saying, and he's basically thinking to himself, everything we've done so far has been worth it, and we had to move forward with the plan. And no matter what happens, no matter what sacrifices they need to make going forward, as long as they're successful in basically freeing the Lydians from Marley's control, then it's all worth it. And that's pretty much all that happens in the chapter. Now, they do mention at one point in the chapter that they're going to try to bring people that aren't allied entirely with Marley onto their side and actually, you know, tip the scales in their favor for this war, which we already saw kind of during the last arc. We saw that, like, that one, I guess, Japanese type country was actually working with them a little bit, was you know, not really on board with the way Marley was treating the Lydians. So they might actually be able to, you know, convince more people who are kind of in that kind of mindset into joining them. But we'll have to see later on in the series. That's pretty much all that happens in the chapter. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm so hyped because this chapter kind of foreshadowed the fact that, yeah, Annie is going to be coming back soon. And I can't not wait to see that. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.